superstorm. We gave you 6 years and millions of dollars, and you gave us nothing.
Reed Richards, he knows answers to questions we don't even know to ask. To learn more about our planet.
When Fantastic Four hit theaters in 2015, it arrived as a bold attempt to reimagine Marvel's first family for a new generation. Directed by Josh Trank, the film sought to distance itself from the lighthearted tone of the 2005 and 2007 adaptations, opting instead for a darker, more grounded, and science-driven approach to the origin story of Reed Richards, Sue Storm, Johnny Storm, and Ben Grimm. This new take promised to bring realism, emotional weight, and a sense of mystery to the superhero genre, exploring how a group of young scientific minds gained incredible powers through a failed experiment and how those powers affected their lives and relationships. The film centers on Reed Richards, a brilliant young inventor who has dreamed of interdimensional travel since his childhood. His scientific genius catches the attention of Dr. Franklin Storm, who offers him the chance to work at the Baxter Foundation, a government-sponsored research facility dedicated to exploring new dimensions. There, Reed joins Sue Storm, a gifted scientist in her own right, her rebellious brother Johnny Storm, and Ben Grimm, Reed's loyal friend from childhood, who has always stood by his side. Together, they embark on an experiment that aims to open a gateway to another dimension known as Planet Zero. However, the moment of triumph quickly turns into disaster when an unexpected event during their journey exposes them to a mysterious energy that alters their physical forms and grants them extraordinary abilities. Each member of the team undergoes a shocking transformation. Reed becomes Mr. Fantastic, capable of stretching and reshaping his body at will. Sue gains the power to become invisible and generate force fields. Johnny turns into the Human Torch, able to engulf himself in flames and fly. Ben's body becomes a living mass of rock, giving him superhuman strength and durability as the Thing. What was meant to be a scientific breakthrough becomes a struggle for survival and identity, as the group must come to terms with their new realities and the consequences of tampering with forces beyond their control. The movie attempts to explore the emotional toll of these changes, rather than simply turning the characters into instant heroes, showing how fear, isolation, and guilt shape their journey. Amid their struggles, the team faces an even greater threat, Victor Von Doom, a fellow scientist who was part of the initial experiment but was left behind in Planet Zero during the accident. Exposed to the same cosmic energy, Doom gains unimaginable powers and returns with a twisted sense of vengeance against humanity. He sees himself as the only being capable of harnessing the true potential of the new dimension, viewing Earth as a corrupted world unworthy of survival. His return forces the Fantastic Four to unite not only to stop Doom's destructive plans, but also to embrace their roles as protectors of their world. The movie's climactic battle unfolds in the surreal, otherworldly landscape of Planet Zero, where the team must learn to fight together for the first time, combining their unique abilities to save Earth from annihilation. Fantastic Four was envisioned as a fresh start for the franchise, designed to move away from the colorful comic book style of earlier versions. The film leaned heavily into themes of scientific ambition, human vulnerability, and the consequences of playing with unknown energies. Its visual tone was dark, the world more sterile and grounded in realism, and the characters younger and more conflicted. The focus on scientific discovery and personal struggle set it apart from the traditional superhero formula, aiming to build a bridge between superhero storytelling and hard science fiction. However, this serious approach proved to be a double-edged sword. While it gave the film a distinct identity, it also made it harder for audiences to connect with the sense of adventure and fun that the Fantastic Four are known for in the comics. The production of Fantastic Four became infamous for its difficulties and creative clashes behind the scenes. The director's original vision was said to be darker and more character-driven, focusing on the psychological effects of transformation and the emotional tension within the group. However, as the project evolved, reports of studio interference began to surface, with changes made to tone, structure, and even major scenes. The resulting film appeared to bear traces of both visions. A serious, slow burn setup, suddenly interrupted by quick shifts to big action sequences. This uneven mix affected the pacing and emotional flow, leaving many feeling that the final product didn't fully deliver on the promise of its bold concept. Despite its ambitious goals, Fantastic Four's release was met with divided opinions. The movie's visual effects were praised for their realism and attention to scientific detail, especially in the depiction of Planet Zero and the transformation sequences. The cast, including Miles Teller as Reed Richards, Kate Mara as Sue Storm, Michael B. Jordan as Johnny Storm, Jamie Bell as Ben Grimm, and Toby Kebbell as Victor Von Doom, brought together a mix of young talent and dramatic skill. Their performances aim to capture a sense of youthful brilliance and vulnerability. Yet, the chemistry between the characters, which had been one of the hallmarks of earlier adaptations, felt underdeveloped, partly due to the film's focus on the darker emotional aspects of the story. The film's tone stood out in a time when superhero movies were becoming increasingly energetic and interconnected within cinematic universes. Fantastic Four took the opposite direction, quieter, slower, and more introspective. The idea of showing superheroes as the result of human experimentation and scientific curiosity, rather than destiny or heroism, was unique. It suggested that power could be both a gift and a curse, and that the line between progress and destruction is thin when ambition outweighs caution. These themes were clearly inspired by the darker, more serious science fiction films that influenced its style, making Fantastic Four feel more like a tragic origin story than a straightforward action adventure. However, the final act of the film shifted back toward a traditional superhero climax, where the team must face doom in a battle that determines the fate of both worlds. The conflict, set against the bleak landscape of Planet Zero, was meant to symbolize the confrontation between two philosophies, one driven by cooperation and redemption, and the other by arrogance and destruction. Though visually striking, the battle was brief, and the resolution came quickly, leaving viewers wanting a more emotionally resonant payoff to the long build-up. The film ended with the four heroes embracing their new identity and purpose, choosing to work together as a team rather than be defined by the accidents that changed them. Fantastic Four was positioned as the start of a new franchise, with plans for sequels and potential crossover opportunities. But its reception made those plans uncertain. Audiences were curious about the new interpretation, but the film's tone, pacing, and structural issues made it difficult to gain the momentum needed to launch a continuing series. Even so, the movie remains an interesting chapter in the evolution of superhero cinema. It attempted to challenge expectations by grounding its story in scientific realism and human emotion rather than spectacle alone. In doing so, it revealed how delicate the balance is between creative vision and audience expectations in a genre that thrives on both wonder and relatability. Looking back, Fantastic Four 2015 serves as a reminder of how the superhero genre continually experiments with tone and style. Every generation reimagines familiar characters in new ways, sometimes bold, sometimes controversial. The film's attempt to modernize Marvel's original family of heroes showed that risk-taking is essential in keeping long-running franchises alive, even when the results are divisive. The cast, despite the film's challenges, gave committed performances that reflected their characters' struggle between human vulnerability and superhuman power. And while the movie didn't achieve the success that its creators hoped for, it became a conversation piece about artistic vision, studio influence, and the challenges of adapting beloved comic book material for modern audiences. In the end, Fantastic Four remains a story about ambition, both within its narrative and in its creation. The characters' pursuit of scientific discovery mirrors the filmmakers' own pursuit of a fresh, creative approach. Both sought to push boundaries and redefine expectations, and both face the consequences of those choices. It's a film that may not have fully realized its potential, but still carries the spirit of innovation that defines the Fantastic Four's legacy. It dared to imagine a world where science and courage collide, where power is born from human curiosity, and where the true test of strength lies not in abilities, but in the will to stand together as a family, even when everything else falls apart.